The first rays of morning sunlight were just filtering through the tall windows of Winston High School when Barron Trump walked into the spacious lobby. It was going to be a busy day, as the annual science competition was officially launched. A large banner hung over the registration desk. "Science is the future of humanity." Teachers setting up posters and charts smiled at the students as they walked in, anticipating a storm of ideas and school projects. Barron felt a small jolt of adrenaline. Despite the fact that his last name might attract special attention from people, he was eager to prove himself worthy of participating in this prestigious event. Even now, as he passed a group of high school students, he couldn't help but catch phrases like, "The president's son," "I hope he doesn't get everything through connections," or, "We'll see what he shows there." "Hey, Barron," his classmate Drew, a tall, skinny boy with tousled red hair, called softly. "Want to sign up?" "Of course," Barron responded, nodding toward the registration desk. "I've almost finished the project structure, just need to clarify a few details." They moved together. Across from the teacher's desk sat the event organizer, Ms. Davis, a strict but fair science teacher. She looked at each student with a searching gaze. When she saw Barron, she smiled slightly. "Good morning. Fill out the form, indicate the name of the project, and, if necessary, additional materials." "Thank you, Miss Davis," he replied, taking hold of the pen. Out of the corner of his eye, Barron noticed two seniors, Sam and Lucas, from the Science Pro Club, standing nearby. They had competed in this competition last year, and had won prizes. Now they were looking at Barron with a slight grin. He knew they didn't believe in his independence. "I wonder what our gold will come up with this time," Sam said loudly to his friend. "Maybe they'll just buy him a win." Barron felt a twinge of irritation, but he held it in. He tried to pretend he didn't notice the jab. After all, the best response to such taunts was to show real results. After filling out the questionnaire and confirming the research topic, "The impact of polar ice changes on marine mammal migration," Barron politely thanked Ms. Davis and stepped away, mentally preparing himself. Time to act. The next day, during recess after biology class, Barron went to the school library. The old shelves, filled to the brim with encyclopedias, reports on zoology and oceanography, looked majestic and a little scary. Behind one of the shelves, he saw Rose Hensley, a quiet and modest girl who loved to help in the library. Having learned about the topic of the project, she offered him a list of useful literature. "Hello, Barron. I heard you've taken up studying Arctic ice?" Rose asked quietly, adjusting her glasses. "We have a great paper on oceanography published by a couple of researchers from Norway who are monitoring whale migrations." Barron smiled. "That would be great. If you have anything on this topic, I'd be happy to take a look." While Rose was looking for the book, Sam and Lucas, the same seniors who never missed a chance to throw a taunt, walked by and saw Barron leafing through an old tome on climate. "Oh, serious preparation," Sam said slightly mockingly, lowering his voice. "Someone still needs to prove that he doesn't get victories just like that. Sam, come on," Lucas said less confidently. "Maybe the guy is trying." "Oh, come on," Sam grimaced. "Look at him. He definitely has access to any resources. He calls in personal tutors, hires scientific consultants. And here we rely on our encyclopedias." Barron felt a knot in his stomach when he heard this, but he pretended to be absorbed in his reading. He knew that if he responded harshly now, he would only fuel their convictions. It was much more important to pull himself together and continue doing what needed to be done, researching materials, refining data, preparing the experimental part. Later, as he was leaving the library, he ran into Drew, who waved at him vigorously. "Hey, let's go to the cafeteria for a cup of chocolate milkshake. Tell me what you managed to dig up." "That's a great idea," Barron agreed. They sat down at a table by the window. The cafeteria was noisy. Someone was discussing the upcoming math test. Someone was sharing the latest news from the sports sections. "Actually, I have an idea for a little experiment," Barron said, taking a sip of his cocktail. "I want to model changes in ice thickness depending on temperature fluctuations, and see how that affects the migration routes of walruses and beluga whales. Wow, that sounds big, Drew said, looking at his friend curiously. But that's hard to recreate in a school setting. Yes, I understand. That's why I'm planning to make a small model. I'll need a large aquarium, an ice maker, or at least a mixture of ice and salt water. I need to calculate everything. Drew nodded, looking at Barron with obvious respect. Look, this is really cool, but remember, there is little time. There are only 4 weeks left until the project defense. Will you make it? I'll try. The main thing is to distribute the forces correctly. At that moment, at the next table, a short girl named Mia, a junior high school student, recognized Barron, timidly approached and asked, Mr. Trump, excuse me, can I just ask, is it true that everything comes easy to you? For a second he felt mixed feelings. He saw no hostility in this girl, only simple childish curiosity. No, Mia. Not at all, he answered with a smile. Each of us must try if we want to achieve something good. The last name doesn't mean much. Mia nodded, thought about it, and walked back. Barron saw a sparkle in her eyes, as if she, too, was beginning to understand that he was not a dropout at this school. The busy days of preparation began. The science classrooms, converted into laboratories, were filled with flasks, test tubes, and miniature models. The physics, chemistry, and biology teachers provided advice to all participants. But Barron felt he needed to develop his own experimental strategy, not just theory. In one of the rooms, the furthest and often empty, he placed a large rectangular aquarium, filled it with water of a certain salinity, and then gradually began adding ice cubes frozen according to the required recipe. In the process, he measured the temperature and monitored the melting time. Well, how are you getting on? Asked Mr. Harrison, the school geography teacher, who always supported practical research. So far the ice melting dynamics are in line with my predictions, but I want to add a heating regulator at the bottom to simulate a possible increase in ocean temperature, Barron replied. And the hardest part is to take into account the movement of the organisms. Of course, I replaced them with small figures, but it is still important how they move over the melting ice. Mr. Harrison assessed the simple structure with his eyes. You will need a lot of precise measurements. Don't forget to think about how to systematize the data you get. I'm going to take pictures every 10 minutes and then analyze them in a special application, Barron explained. To be complete, we need to monitor the reaction of the simulated animals. Meanwhile, Sam's figure flashed past the glass door of the office, as if he was trying to sneak a peek. He couldn't resist and went in. Wow, I didn't know you'd gone this far, he said with feigned politeness. But who's helping you put all this together? Outside experts? Barron pressed his lips together and wanted to cut him off sharply, but he held back. No. I do everything myself. In general, if you want to see, I can tell you what and how. Maybe another time, Sam muttered, embarrassed, apparently not expecting such a calm answer. Okay, good luck. He quickly left, leaving a viscous mixture of skepticism and mild respect in the air. Perhaps he was slowly beginning to understand that work was actually being done here. For the rest of the week, Barron immersed himself in calculations, barely managing to complete his homework. In the evenings, he sat over computer spreadsheets, comparing actual measurements with scientific papers he had found in the library. Thanks to Rose Hensley, he felt growing tired from time to time. But he remembered a conversation with his father, who once said, "If you really want to achieve something, don't think about other people's opinions, do what you think is right." He may not have always agreed with the family's methods, but the advice here was sound: persistence and focus on the goal. The day of the project presentations arrived. The assembly hall of the Winston School was transformed into an exhibition space. Stands with posters, models of volcanoes and the solar system, monitors demonstrating 3D models. By the morning, there was already a crowd of participants, teachers, and even representatives of the city's scientific community. Barron set up his aquarium on a special table, with a series of photographs, graphs of the changing thickness of the ice, and the results of his research. On one side hung a small sign that read, Project, Impact of Melting Polar Ice on Marine Mammal Migration. He was a little nervous, because his public defense in front of the jury was about to begin. Soon it was announced that the judges, 3 teachers from a local college and 2 experts from the university, would begin going around each booth and asking questions. And so, as the small delegation of judges approached Barron, he sighed uneasily, but quickly composed himself, lifting his chin. "Good morning," he began. "My project is dedicated to modeling Arctic conditions and studying." The words flowed a little incoherently, but he tried to explain in clear phrases that the ice surface changes under the influence of rising temperatures, and how this affects the paths of conditional whales, walruses, and polar bears. "You mention a statistical model," interrupted one of the judges, Professor Maria Kingsley. "How did you validate your model?" Barron, feeling something inside him shrink from fear of making a mistake, calmed down and began to describe the process. "I compared my results with scientific articles that provided real data on ice melting over the past 10 years. He showed the corresponding graphs. The judges looked at them with interest, and one of them nodded in approval. "Quite curious," said another judge, a professor of ecology. "How did you assess the response of marine mammals to ice dynamics?" Here Barron revealed his method, when he shifted the walrus figures depending on the melting coefficient, made on the basis of collected statistics. He supplemented the explanation with illustrations, where he provided a scheme of migration at different water temperatures. Meanwhile, a group of students had gathered behind them. Sam was among them. Unlike the earlier taunts, he looked very focused. When Barron finished explaining, Sam suddenly, as if he had forgotten his hostility, asked, "Excuse me, but how did you calculate the drift speed of the ice flow?" The question came out of the blue, but Barron smiled. "I entered a correction factor. If you want, look at this table." Sam nodded and looked at the figures. He was clearly impressed. Everything looked reasonable. One of the judges said approvingly, "Excellent, young man. Didn't expect to see such a comprehensive approach here. Keep up the good work." Relief lit up Barron's face. This stage was over. However, he sensed that the most interesting part was yet to come. The overall results would not be announced until the afternoon. After many hours of inspection, the jury gathered all the participants in the assembly hall to announce the winners. The hall was buzzing with excitement. The time dragged on painfully, but then the host of the event, Ms. Davis, came out on stage with envelopes. She thanked all the participants for their hard work, noted the high level of the projects. "So let's move on to announcing the winners," she began, looking up at the full room. "Third place goes to the Aquatech Group for their water filtration project. Second place goes to Sam Williams for his project on renewable energy sources." Sam, who was sitting nearby, walked up to the stage to receive his diploma. Barron noticed Sam glance in his direction, and the look in his eyes said something like, "Let's see how lucky you are." Ms. Davis paused. "And now, first place." The jury specifically emphasized that this project successfully combines the experimental component and the analysis of real scientific data. "The winner is Barron Trump." The room filled with applause, some even jumping to their feet to cheer louder. Barron felt a little embarrassed, although inside he was singing with joy. He walked out on stage and saw familiar faces Drew waving at him from the back row, Rose Hensley smiling, holding up a book she had once recommended. Having received the award, he thanked the jury. But what was even more valuable was that after the official part, many people approached him personally, saying that his experiment had impressed them and made them remember serious environmental problems. The most unexpected thing happened when Sam approached him, shifting his weight in confusion. He was silent for a few seconds, and finally extended his hand. "Look, I'll be honest, at first I thought you were just making some noise, and that's it. But after what I saw today..." "Okay," he swallowed. "Congratulations on the win. Great job." Barron shook his hand with a smile. "Thanks, Sam. You know, You did a great job with your energy system, too. Maybe we can share ideas sometime when we have time? Sam relaxed and nodded. Of course. It would be great. This little scene of reconciliation proved to Barron that people can change their minds if they see real efforts and results. The main thing is not to despair under the pressure of other people's skepticism. Already in the evening, walking along the corridor to the exit, Barron noticed Mia, the girl who had asked him about lightness earlier. She ran up happily. Mr. Trump, congratulations on your first place. Now I know you didn't win for nothing. You worked hard, didn't you? He chuckled, feeling a pleasant warmth spreading inside him. Yes, I had to work hard. But you know, it was worth it. Little Mia smiled, her eyes shining with mischievous curiosity, as if she now also dreamed of doing something just as exciting. As Barron walked out of the school into the early twilight, he was greeted by a soft evening breeze. He looked back at the walls of his beloved school, feeling that today might be his entry into the exciting world of science. But more importantly, he had proven to everyone that a family name alone does not bring success. You need willpower, knowledge, diligence, and faith in what you are doing. Now all that remains is to continue moving forward, accepting new challenges and overcoming them, as is customary for true explorers.